at PsychE-Learning. I'm Hasna, and today we came up with a new concept called Coffee Talks.
Yeah, so our idea was to take kind of your guys' suggestions on different type of videos that you would like. So we are here with our coffee and we're ready to talk. So I'll just kind of go over some of the different video ideas you guys had. So I won't say the ones that we're actually planning to do in the video, but we had some interesting ones. For example, somebody wanted us to talk about what happens to the brain after a traumatic event, which is very interesting, but unfortunately that would require a lot of research, not just our opinions. Somebody else had said, I'd like to learn more about how genetics can be involved in diagnosing psychological problems, which is also super interesting, but obviously we would need to sit down, do more research, and then give you guys proper scientific knowledge on that. So we just kind of wanted to pick things that we could discuss and debate with each other to see if we have conflicting opinions. So that's what Coffee Talk is all about.
So the first topic that we're going to be talking about is stan culture.
Yeah, so just to give you guys an idea about what stan culture is, it's basically when you're a super big fan of somebody, you're considered a stan. And in today's day and age with social media and how accessible everything is, stan culture has definitely magnified to be as big as it is today.
So the first thing I want to really talk about is if I think stan culture is toxic or unhealthy. I think it really depends to what extreme that person is a fan of someone. So as long as it's done in moderation, I think it should be fine to idolize someone. Of course, it's a good thing because there's someone you look up to. It's a hero. It's somebody you want to be influenced by. But if it's done to a very extreme extent, then it can be very unhealthy, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think you see a lot of times on social media, if you're a stan of somebody, so don't come for me, but like Nicki Minaj's stans are called the Barbs, or BTS is called the Army, and things like that. Yeah. And when you're a stan, a part of this kind of culture of being obsessed with the person you're famous with, anything somebody says that's negative, you want to fight them on it. So I feel like stan culture and cancel culture oftentimes works hand in hand. And I think it can be pretty toxic for people. Not everybody should be demonized for not liking somebody or for not being interested in a certain song or a certain movie and things like that. But I think it is definitely beneficial if you're famous to have all these people loving you. So there are definitely pros and cons.
Also, stans aren't just for celebrities. You can also see stans for political figures such as Trump. And yeah. Alexandra, I'm sure you have a lot to say about that.
Yes, as you guys might know, I'm from the US and we just had an election, which is all anybody could talk about for the last couple weeks. And something that really kind of bothered me that I didn't think was something we should be doing was that people had started to create stan culture for both political parties. So for Trump and Biden, people were making fan cams, so they would do edits with music to make them look super badass or something like that.
I'm sorry for dripping, but drip is what I do. And when it bitch, you guessed it. You was right. Like a dangerous something about makes me feel like a dangerous love.
I noticed a lot when Biden won for him and Kamala, they were saying like, oh, like we have, you know, such a sexy president and things like that. And I'm like, is that how we're supposed to talk about politicians? I don't know if that's really the correct way to go about it. So I don't know. I just feel like that wasn't the most logical step to take in terms of being a fan or a stan of somebody. So I just feel like the culture itself is getting a bit intense these days.
And the culture is really getting intense because of social media, because of these platforms where you can like put all these memes and really go at it and make all these fan pages. Like that's where it really like grows.
So the next one that we have is a bit more serious. So something that has been going around a lot lately is people aren't being the most tactful with rape victims. And I've seen this both online, in real life, and in a lot of different places, people are just either not believing what they say, trying to doubt them, and that type of stuff.
Sometimes people aren't very tactful when they speak to somebody who's been through this trauma, because it is really a trauma. Like, somebody really went through something very, very hurtful. And people should be more careful of what they say and what they do to people who have gone through something like this.
Yeah, something that I've seen, there was a trend going around on TikTok, which I'll insert one of the clips here.
My guy pretty like a girl, and he got 5 stories to tell. I see both sides like Chanel.
Where a guy posted and said, should we make women who falsely claim that they were raped go to jail? And then he was like, follow me for yes, comment for no, share for something else. And everyone was like, yeah, these women need to go to jail. They're awful. They're always falsely accusing men or whatever. And I had replied and said, in a video, I was like, if you're this mad about women falsely accusing men, you should be equally as mad about women who are actually raped. And then one of the guy's friends commented and said, nice 6-head, which I thought was kind of funny. I'm like, instead of having an actual conversation with me about this subject, you go straight to bullying. So obviously where you're going with that isn't the most tactful approach in any sort of sense. Like, what if I was a rape victim who took that personally because of the experience I went through? And instead of trying to have a conversation with me because I came at your friend for what he said, you go to insult my appearance. So I don't know. I just thought that was a bit weird.
Yeah, and also I don't understand why people have to generalize that, because a few people might have like false accusations of rape. It doesn't mean that everyone does, and most of them, even like statistically speaking, there's very little people that lie about things like this.
Yeah,
right?
I don't remember what the exact percentages were, but I think it's like less than 10% of rape accusations are actual false rape cases. So that means about 90% are real rape cases. But it's just weird to me that the people who were posting this kind of stuff were more concerned with the false accusations, and that the people who do that should go to jail, when actual rapists don't even go to jail themselves most of the time. Either they pay a fine or the judge feels bad for them and lets them off easy. Like, I don't know if you guys, or if you've known about the case of Brock Turner. He was on a swim team in the US and he raped a girl while she was passed out drunk, and people found him raping her, pulled him off. So there was plenty of evidence showing what he had done, and he only had a 6-month sentence because the judge said he didn't want to ruin this young man's career. So he got let off.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I don't know. But I do understand why some people would find it tricky, because maybe you know a guy who was accused and you know he's a good guy, so you don't know what to feel about it. So I feel like something maybe we could discuss now is like a way to speak to people who are rape victims without being accusatory or attacking them for whatever happened.
Yeah, of course, it's normal to have a conversation with someone, even if it can be hard to talk to someone who's been through something like this, because it is, as I said, a trauma. It's a traumatic thing that happened to them. So going back in those events might be very hurtful for them. But I think as long as that person is okay to talk about it, then you should definitely ask questions, but in a very careful way, you know? Like, what would you ask somebody who's gone through something like this?
Well, I think it depends on the type of scenario you're in. If it's a friend that you have that comes to you and tells you that they've been raped, I feel like something important to say is it's not your fault.
Yeah, obviously.
You know, don't blame yourself, because a lot of rape victims hate themselves afterwards and feel dirty and disgusting when they shouldn't be. It's not their fault.
Yeah,
so I feel like if it was your friend, you just need to be there and support them and make sure they know that the blame isn't on them. But if it's somebody you don't know and you think maybe they lied about it and you feel the need to have a conversation with them about this, I feel like there are ways to do it respectfully and ways to do it disrespectfully. So I think maybe we could discuss how to do it respectfully. Like, what would you say to somebody if you were in that position?
Just to get back to what you said, whether it's a friend or not, maybe you don't even have to approach them yourself. Maybe you can just wait until that person is ready to talk about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's something very personal, and you shouldn't try to force anybody to speak about something you're not comfortable speaking about yet. So, but it is a tricky position to be in, because you never know what's the right thing to say or what's a hurtful thing to say.
Yeah, but just make sure that you're there for them and that you reassure them and tell them, hey, I'm here for you. If you want to talk about it, talk about it. If you just want to cry or just want to, not say anything, then we can just ignore it and talk about something else. Just be respectful of that person's choices,
Yeah, of course. I think that's the biggest thing. The rape victim had their bodily autonomy taken away from them. So you should try to help reinstate their control, because rape isn't necessarily about sex. It's about having control over somebody else.
Yeah.
So that person had their control taken away from them. So you can help reinstate it by letting them know that they're in power of the conversation and how you guys will handle it afterwards.
Just to go back to what you were saying, I don't really think anyone has to confront anyone about what they said or what they did,
Yeah, I think that is a fair point. I think everybody needs to know there is a time and a place for everything. And in this type of circumstance, it's not your time and not your place. So why get involved? I think it's very easy just to move past it, regardless of whatever the circumstances are. And even if you feel like the girl is lying or if she's telling the truth, it's none of your business. Also important to note, it's not just women who are raped. Men are also raped. And I feel like that's something people don't really talk about that often. And I feel like instead of talking about false accusations, why don't you talk about all the genders involved in this atrocity,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is something that society needs to work on speaking about more. I've seen people will hear about a boy who was molested when he was like 15 or 16 by an older woman and not understand why he feels traumatized about it and try to congratulate him, which I think is disgusting.
Yeah, there's not enough emphasis on that part about guys being sexually harassed. And I think there's a lot of occurrences of it, but no one really acknowledges that as a sexual abuse, because I don't know why actually, but
yeah, it's like the perception that men should be lucky.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody, regardless of the circumstances. But if it was a 16-year-old girl who was touched by a male teacher, everybody would be in an uproar about it. So I just don't think it's fair that we look at boys who are touched inappropriately as being, like, you're the man, good job, you got an older woman, look at you, when it's in fact gross.
And not just younger boys, even at parties, for example, if a girl's onto a guy inappropriately and that guy is like telling her, no, I don't want anything, and the girl is kind of forcing herself on him, that's still like not okay.
Yeah, as much as guys have had to help me, like my guy friends have had to help me out of bad scenarios with guys, I've had to help my guy friends as well. Like I've been at parties and I'll make eye contact with one of my friends across the room and they'll be like, help me, when a girl's talking to them. So it happens to both genders, I think, in proportionate amounts. I don't think it's something that we discuss enough.